You want to know what the #1 overlooked bait in springtime bass fishing? We're about to dive into it right now. All right, guys, it is the time of year to pick up your floating worms. It is one of my favorite times of year to catch these fish out when they're spawning, pre-spawn, post-spawn. You can absolutely catch them. There's two ways I rig a floating worm this time of year that I feel like makes a huge difference, and the setup's everything. So let's walk through this. This one right here is the Crush City Janitor Methylate. And to me, a brighter colors is a lot of times visual. It draws the fish further away. And it's not actually a floating worm. It doesn't float on top of the water. It's just a slow meandering way of basically a worm that's more weightless, if you will. And so there's two different ways that I rig this. The more traditional way is a Texas rig setup like we have right here. I really prefer 8-pound braid. That is the new Revolve braid from Sufix. And then really for me, this is the setup. This is our traditional setup. Is more of a worm hook, a worm style hook. Right here I have a 4/0 VMC Redline hook. The big key with a worm hook, whatever hook you decide to pick up, is I like a little bit thicker gauge if I'm fishing it a little bit deeper, but you really want to make sure your line tie from your hook point to your eye, you have a good gap in between there. That's going to allow for a better hookup ratio, and you're not going to miss a lot of fish. It's really, really, really important. I'm just going to rig him up just like so. Texas rig, I'm going to come all the way through the worm, and then I'm going to use this Texposing little appendages up top to sort of let him just lay in there. I don't know if you can see that very well or not, but it's just laying in there. All right, so the other side of this is actually wacky rigging a floating worm. And so my setup for this is the same worm that I'm using. I'm actually using the VMC crossover ring. That helps me sort of keep this bait, sort of like a band, whether you're using, I like this because as you can see, I can rig it more of like a traditional wacky style. So when that fish comes up there and bites it, it typically has a better hookup ratio towards the top roof of the mouth, rather than like an O-ring band, which you have to sort of go parallel with the worm. Really like rigging this horizontal to where it's just so crossways, and that allows for that have a better hookup ratio is really the key on this setup. So the hook that I'm actually choosing for this is a lighter hook, not like the heavier gauge hook that I'm using on the floating worm, and I want to get it down there a little bit more. This technique is more for fishing vertical cover and fishing like bluffy banks, anywhere those fish are spawning or staging. And like, to me, keeping it in the strike zone is important. So a lighter hook, keeping that bait up in the water columns, a really good way of generating some bites. It's the coolest bite. It's one of my favorite ways to target bass, and it's something that's almost a forgotten way of bass fishing that absolutely is dynamite this time of year.